was just driving along and I started hearing a hissing sound. Coolant temp is high. And we kept saying that we wanted to take cars that were less reliable because it was getting boring and we couldn't find anything unreliable enough. I think we found just the cars for the trip. All right guys, so if you have been watching any of the road trip series that we just took in this RX7 and Ben's K-swapped FD RX7, then you know we managed to make it through. Everything's still intact on the car, roughly. We did obviously travel over 8,000 miles, so there will be some maintenance that we're gonna be doing, not the least of which was our almost trip-ending coolant failure on the cooling system of the Rotary RX7. So that whole system is gonna get trashed, and we are going to coil rad. So I have a coil rad in my Evo 9 as well. It's been flawless for several years now. Coil rad makes some really awesome cooling solutions. A lot of do-it-yourself type stuff for different applications. This is a actual stock fitment FD radiator. I have an aftermarket V-mount setup, so we're gonna have to do some fab work to make sure that this thing fits the V-mount, but a little bit of fab and it should be perfect. So on the trip, obviously we had some roadside emergencies with the cooling system, and we had to put a bunch of different water in there to try and keep things cool while we were trying to limp it around, which means not all of that is distilled water. We have some like spring water, some mineral water and stuff in there, and that can lead to corrosion and build up in your cooling system. And we definitely don't want that in the new coil rad all aluminum radiator. So we are going to do a couple of flushes on the cooling system before we take out the old radiator and put in the new one. The 13B, it actually has two drain points for coolant. One obviously on the radiator, and then the second one is on the middle iron on the block of the rotary. So you just undo that and then you can get extra coolant out to make sure that you have everything drained. And we're gonna put everything back in, fill it up with distilled water, like 2 or 3 gallons. Run it to try and collect any of the excess, stuff that's left over. So we fired up the RX7 and we're just letting the distilled water circulate through the system. Gonna get it up to operating temperature and then cut it off. We're all just trying not to die in here right now with all of the rotary fumes filling up. We got a fan set up, trying to get everything out of the building, but things are still getting stinky. So as you can see, we still have green antifreeze in there, which means that we didn't flush everything out before, even when we drained it. So that's the purpose of running more distilled water through there. So now we can drain it again and get a bunch of this green stuff out, a bunch of this old stuff out, and then we'll be ready to start pulling the radiator out. All right, so this is the old eBay unit that we have taken out. This is the same one that had all those issues on the trip that cost us a couple of days. And this is the new coil rad unit that we are going to be putting in. Now, the differences between these two. As you can see, the V-cut, this is a sort of V-mount specific unit. Both outlets are on the same end tank, which, typically with like an OEM style, this is an OEM style coil rad. You're gonna have your inlet neck here. You're gonna have the outlet on the other side of the radiator on the other end tank. For routing with a V-mount, often you want them to be on the same side. So in order to keep water from just flowing directly across the end tank and then exiting and not really using any of the efficiency of the radiator, you have this cut in to kind of block off the end tank into 2 different sides so that water and coolant flow in a U path across the radiator and then back out through the outlet neck. We're gonna try and do this with as stock as possible of a setup with this stock style coil rad. This is an N-flow coil rad, which basically means there are metal partitions here inside the core when coolant enters, it travels down and it can't flow directly across because of this partition. So then it travels back up and then back down and then out through the outlet. So it travels literally in an N flow pattern. And the more time the coolant spends inside of the radiator core, the more cooling occurs. So this is good for cars that have difficulty cooling their engines, or cars that have maybe like poor airflow, which also contributes to inefficiency in a cooling system. The challenge that we're gonna face is when we install this, it's going to be sitting at an angle like that, and with the outlet here, that means that we're going to have a hose that is very close to the ground. So we might have to swap the inlet neck and the outlet neck in order for ease of routing with hoses. We'll see how it goes. It's going to take a lot of finagling and a lot of test fitting of hoses and stuff like that, but hopefully we can find a good solution. Or could maybe run it upside down.
This actually would kind of work.
I think this would actually be like a decent solution that would require basically no fab work on the actual rad itself. We'd have to do some mounting solutions with like different metal tabs and stuff. But from what I'm seeing, it would have good, decent hose clearing on the bottom without the hose, you know, dragging on the ground or something. It's at a good angle to get airflow. Okay, wanna go look at some hose? Okay, so we're here at Advance and we are gonna try and pick out some hoses just by sight that might fit our application. Absolutely, absolute-and-tootly. This one is going to be from the outlet to the inlet, and this one, these two, I'm going to try and make one of these two U shapes work for my radiator inlet. We'll see. Okay. Moment of truth. We're gonna test fit some of these hoses. We're gonna start with this one. I'm feeling most confident in this hose. Dang it. This $50 one is like actually perfect. I was hoping I could return this one. This is an expensive hose. Yeah, that's actually probably gonna work just fine. Dang. Yeah, has all the right bends. And the one that I thought would be easier, which was the shorter loop, a little trickier. Might actually have to go corrugated again if I can't find one that does a better U shape. But now we can just fab tabs for the radiator, get it fixed, and then cut our hoses to fit that length.
We pretty much nailed it. First go around. So we got both of them. Heck yeah. I'm a natural born fabricator, baby. son of a gun. I have fabricated a mount. Oh. That radiator's holding itself, buddy. Call me Mr. Ben the Fabricator. Yeah, guys, I mean, I'll be taking any fabrication projects you guys have, any commissions. My schedule's kind of filling up. If I have time, I'll fit you in. So this grommet is because that is going to be mounting, the radiator has a metal dowel that's going to be mounting in this hole, and that would be just metal to metal. So in order to reduce vibration and get the most consistent mount possible. Are you kidding me? Look at that. That is all mount, baby. This stuff gets me more jazzed than any other kind of working on cars. Because I'm like making it all myself, and every time it works, I'm like, oh, I'm a genius. I'm not a genius. I'm just delighted. I hope this all just comes right together. Radiator is in there nice and snug. Got rubber grommets, so there won't be any vibration. Help isolate some vibration. It should be pretty much ready to take coolant. And the coolest part about this is a OEM style coil rad that we have made fit with a V-mount. If anything happens to your radiator when you're on the road or at the track or whatever, you just get another stock style radiator, throw it in there, fits up, and you're good to go. And now it is coolants time. So we've got some blue Asian vehicle from Xerox. This is 50-50 mixture. Xerox is made actually by Valvoline. It's formulated in their same lab that they do all of their oil formulation in, and they actually design a lot of coolants for OEMs. Original color is green for coolants in the RX7. We've flushed all of the former coolant out, and the color doesn't matter so much, it's just more of a designation so you know what's supposed to go where. In this case, this is the same Asian vehicle coolant, but it's blue.
You know, all coolant is going to be about 50% ethylene glycol with about 50% water. So that's going to give you your boil over protection and your freeze up protection. So, you know, water by itself is like the ideal heat transfer fluid, right? It's going to move more heat than water with glycol, but you add the glycol there so you're not going to boil off when you get really hot, and you're not going to freeze when you get really cold. And then you have the corrosion inhibitors in there that are going to be specific to your type of engine. With this one, we've got phosphate. You have organic acids for like kind of the longer life corrosion inhibition. And then you have some inorganics just because you want that quick acting corrosion inhibition like right away. So if you do have any kind of corrosion activity happening in your system, that's going to kind of band-aid it right away so it won't get worse. And then you have your organic acids kind of in the background to take over as opposed to deplete.
Fantastic. That's good to hear, because after this road trip, I probably do have some whack stuff in my cooling system.
Yeah. So. Because one of the things I tell people too, like if you have coolant issues, the problems that the coolant can cause are usually latent. You might think a part failed when in actuality it was your coolant that was bad like 6 months ago, and it just took a while for the corrosion to kind of build up and to cause an issue.
Okay, well, if you watch the road trip, then you know how long this thing takes to bleed. So this may be the beginning of a hour-long process. We'll see. It's holding steady like 3 degrees cooler than it normally does on the last radiator. So I guess it pays to have a radiator that doesn't have a bunch of holes in it. And it's definitely running cooler than it was before, just idling. That's that. after we fill up gas, we're gonna go hop on the highway, because I'm very familiar with the temps that this car will usually see cruising on the highway, and see if we've gone down on like the normal temps. Took it on the highway, took it around town, just put it through its paces a little bit, gave it, you know, some throttle and whatnot, high RPM and stuff, and yeah, temperature stays nice and restrained. Everything seems to be working well. Didn't pop any hoses off, so I call that a win. Pretty stoked. And it's definitely going to be nice that it's not going to be leaking coolant constantly like it was on the last radiator. So an excellent upgrade, I think.